talk about rockets today. We talked a little bit about astronauts on Tuesday, and so you can't have a space study without rockets. Why are rockets so important if we're talking about space? Raise your hand if you have some ideas.
Me.
Miles, what do you think?
Because you can't fly to there if you don't have rocket ship.
That's exactly right. That's the way that we get to space. Eli, what do you think, buddy?
We can't take a car because we go to because we take a space vehicle.
Yes, absolutely. Allie Mae.
Space is important, and they don't go on spaceship. If they don't go a rocket, then they won't fly up and get space.
That's exactly right. Winter, what do you think?
They land on the moon.
Yeah, if we didn't have rockets, we couldn't get to space, and if we aren't in space, we can't land on the moon and learn all the things that we can about space. So, quick little lesson about rockets, why they're important, and we're going to talk about the parts of a rocket. So, rockets are the man-made ways, the ways that humans have created these rockets, and this is the way that we get to space. Now, rockets have two different jobs. They can either carry humans or astronauts to space so that we can learn all the things we can, or there's a little satellite floating around in space called the International Space Station. Did you guys know that?
Space?
And the International Space Station is where astronauts usually go up to kind of spend some time in space and do a lot of scientific research. And so rockets can shoot up from Earth, they can go up into space and carry supplies to the International Space Station just in case astronauts need something. So they can either carry humans or they can carry supplies to the International Space Station, okay? So now, if we think about it, if we think about the parts of a rocket, and I know I have a little tiny model here, but I have a picture here. Let's talk about the different parts, because do you guys see, is it all one big rocket?
Yeah.
It is, but it is made up of different parts. So let's talk about this orange part right here. This part is called the external tank. Can you guys say that?
External tank.
External tank. And in a rocket, you are going to have different kinds of fuel. Just like, what do you need in order to make your car go?
Gas.
You need gas. If your car doesn't have gas, is it going to be able to run?
No.
Do you think that a rocket needs a lot of gas?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Man, yes. It needs a ton of gas. So much so that this entire orange part, this is just a little tiny model, but this part is actually the biggest part of the rocket. This part is full of liquid gas, okay? So this is the external tank. Now, do you guys see these two white parts on the side? This is even more gas, but it's in a different form. So this orange part has liquid gas, and these two white parts right here are called solid rocket boosters. Okay, can you guys say those three words? Solid rocket boosters. This, guys, has solid fuel. So it's not in a liquid form, it's not sloshing around, it's in a solid form. And scientists have realized that if astronauts and space shuttles carry a solid fuel, it's easier for them to get more to have in space just in case something happens and they need more gas. So this is full of fuel, liquid fuel, and this is full of solid fuel, okay? Now, the next part is called the orbiter. Can you guys say that? And this is the part that everybody recognizes in a space shuttle because this is the part where the humans are. So if somebody is driving that spaceship and they get up to space, all of these parts, the solid rocket boosters and the external tank, are all going to fall off of the rocket, and the orbiter is the one that's going to be left. And this is where you have a pilot and different astronauts, and you have a pilot and different astronauts that control it, and they can land on the moon or wherever they are going, okay? So let's talk about it one more time. External tank, can you guys say that?
External tank.
Solid rocket boosters.
Solid rocket boosters.
And then this is the orbiter. Okay? Now, briefly, when a rocket shoots off and it is getting ready to go into space, all of these parts are attached, but they do not stay attached. The solid rocket boosters, once they are all used up, will fall off the rocket. Now, do they just fall anywhere?
No.
No, they do not. At the very tip of your solid rocket boosters are parachutes. What is the job of a parachute? Raise your hand if you know.
Me.
Copeland, what do you think?
Helps if they just go crashing down, they probably die. But it's a parachute. It's so light, it can just like carry you down.
Yeah, it falls, but does it fall fast?
No way.
No, and that keeps everybody very safe. And also, if these don't fall as fast, they're able to be reused, okay? So, the rocket shoots off into space, these solid rocket boosters fall off, parachutes help them land softly, and now you're left with the orbiter and the external tank, and that's its fuel, okay? So now, these two parts are in space. When it reaches a certain height in space, the external tank actually falls off. Okay, and it has a guide system to where it allows it to come back down to Earth, and it can also be reused. Now, when all the parts are off, the orbiter is left, and they can maneuver to where they're going.
That looks like an airplane.
I know, it sort of does, but airplanes can't go as high as a spaceship does.
No way.
Yeah? Okay. So in this little set, I have some different ones. I thought it was really cool, and it came with different ones. So we have the space shuttle. Let's see, the Mercury Redstone. I'm thinking,
I know.
looks like this one. They all have different names. So the Mercury Redstone, and these are all different types of space shuttles. This is the Mercury Atlas. This one is the Gemini Titan, and this one is
I got a question.
the Apollo Saturn V. And this one is a very special one because in kindergarten we talked about this one. This was a part of the Apollo 11 mission to the moon. It was the first rocket sent up to the moon that carried astronauts. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to put this on the shelf and you guys can work on that. Lastly, I do have a story that we can read. Let me find it.
And we can have love story time. And we can have those.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at this little story. It's going to talk about rockets. So this one, it says roaring rockets, and I'll make sure that you guys see the pictures, okay?
Roaring rocket? That's a
Wow, rockets have power. They rise and roar. This rocket's waiting, ready to soar. Soar means to fly. Rockets carry astronauts with cool white suits, oxygen helmets, and moon boots. We talked about that on Tuesday, the different parts of a spacesuit. Because can astronauts wear jeans and a t-shirt up to space? No, unfortunately they can't.
No.
The countdown is finishing. 3, 2, 1. Blast off, and the journey begins. Somewhere.
It's so hard when you...
Rockets have fuel in great big tanks. When they are empty, they drop away. Thanks. And when they drop away, they can be reused. Up in space, you're really light, so astronauts need to buckle up tight.
If they would,
Because there's no what in space? Gravity.
No.
Rockets go far. Through space they zoom, reaching as far as the big round moon.
Where's the moon to?
Down comes the lander with legs out ready and fiery boosters to hold it steady. So this is called a lunar lander. And lunar is another word for moon. So if you hear the word lunar module or lunar lander, that means it was going to the moon. Out come the astronauts to plant their flag and scoop up samples in their moon rock bag. So these guys went to the moon.
And they collected moon rocks.
Yeah, for research.
Yep.
Rockets explore through space they roam, but when they're done, they head back home.
But they might have to stay at astronauts.
Rockets re-enter in a fiery flash to land in the sea with a sizzling splash. The helicopter carries the brave crew away. 3 cheers for the astronauts. Hip hip hooray!
Hooray!
Because let me tell you, a landing of a space rocket can be very dangerous because they enter the Earth at a very high speed. And once they get to a certain point, that's when parachutes eject and they can fall slowly. But entering the Earth, they are going very fast. So let's look at these rocket parts. Moon boots. Astronauts need to wear special protective clothing when they're walking on the moon, right? We know that. Lunar lander. This takes astronauts down from the rocket to land on the moon. Oxygen helmet. They need it to breathe. And then this is the rocket. So fuel tanks. These hold the fuel that makes the rocket go. And the command module. This is where the astronauts live on their way to and from the moon. So those are the parts of a rocket. Do you guys have any questions about rockets?
Me. Oh, wow.
Thank you, Ms.